morning, squad. Mr. Herr here on this somewhat dreary Tuesday morning. I hope everybody's healthy, wealthy, and wise on your end. Today we're going to continue working with compound interest. We'll do one review problem and then we'll do two problems where we have to work backwards and solve for a principal. I'll show you how to do that on the cell phone calculator. It is a little complicated, so it's something you might want to pause, rewatch, that sort of thing when it comes to the calculator typing, because they're just not as handy as our traditional graphing calculators. But yeah, then the homework assignments, 4 questions, pretty easy breezy, beautiful. So without further ado, let's do this thing. Watch out for the spring. My bad. Hey, as always, perfect time to pause the video, grab a pencil, piece of paper, follow along. You guys know how we roll. Hey, the formula is still account balance equals principal times, now this part's new, 1 plus rate divided by the number of times compounded to the number of times compounded times time power. We'll review that here in number 1. So you open a 403B account with $10,000, averaging 4% return compounded annually. So that means my N value is going to equal 1 because it's compounded annually. If you left that money in the account for 8 years, what would your new balance be? Okay, so our principal, $10,000 times 1 plus our rate, which is 0.04, divided by 1. All that to the 1 times 8 power. Now, you and I both know that 0.04 divided by 1 is that, 1 times 8 is that. So just for simplistic purposes, I'm just rewriting here. Typing this one in the calculator is pretty simple. Just a quick review. I know you know this, but you have to log in, turn sideways, and then you're good to go. Make sure you have the AC, which is all clear. So we have 1.04 to the 8th power. Well, over here, the X to the Y power button, we'll press that. That means 1.04 is our base, 8 is our power. Boom. When we figure out that power, we get 1.36, blah, 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 times our principal, which was 10,000. Sure enough, if we leave everything in the account, we end up with $13,685.69. Okay, that's a review from yesterday. I'm not going to say it's easy because I think using this is way more complicated than it should be, but I also know that that's what a lot of you probably have access to. Number 2 and 3 are both new, but they're the same topic. These two, so at least we only have one new topic today. You open an IRA account averaging 5% return compounded semi-annually. So I'm thinking right there, my N value is going to be equal to 2. Semi-annually means twice a year. If you left that money in the account for 5 years, what would your principal be if you ended up with $10,000? What would your principal be if you end up with $10,000? So the setup here is a little different. Our account balance, our A value, is 10,000 equals our unknown principal, so I'm just going to leave that as P, times 1 plus my rate, which is 0.05, divided by 2, because that's how many times it's compounded. And then the number of times compounded, 2 times 5 years. Okay. I'm not you, but I think it would really benefit you to do some simple simplifying. For instance, we know that this power right here is the power of 10. It just makes that a lot easier than typing it in and going through all those steps. Not only that, but half of 5 is 2.5. So this decimal would be 1.025. Okay. Yes, you can use the calculator for that. I'm just trying to show you. Essentially, what we're going to do here, ladies and gentlemen, is we're going to divide both sides by 1.025 to the 10th power. When we do that, on the right-hand side, all that cancels, and we're left with the principal. The question is, like if we had our fancy schmancy graphing calculators, you can literally type this in the way it looks there. But I know a lot of you don't have these at home. I'm not mad at you, truthfully. If I was in your shoes, I probably wouldn't have one either. Okay. So let's talk about how to type this in, and it's going to look kind of goofy. We actually want to start with our 1.025 to the 10th power. So I'm taking that base, check. To the power of, so x to the power of y, that's to the 10th power. Boom. Okay. Now, if there was an answer button here, we would be great, but there's not. So it's a little mathematical, so stick with me. If we're dividing by that, it's essentially the same as multiplying by the reciprocal. I know that was fast, just take my word on it. So what I'm going to do here, to find the reciprocal, see that 1 over x button? Helps if you actually hit the right button. My bad. So let's restart that real quick. Okay, to the power of 10. Good. Okay, so we have our base, the power of 10. The 1 over x button is reciprocal. So I take the reciprocal of that, then I can multiply by my account balance, which was $10,000. That gives me an amount that's less than $10,000. It's kind of self-checking, aka I would have to start with $7,811.98 to end up with 10 grand after 5 years. Okay. I know that was a little sketchy. We're going to do one more, and I'll try to go fast because the video is getting long. Okay, you open a 401k account, averaging 12% return, compounded quarterly. I'm thinking right there that N is going to be equal to 4 because it's compounded quarterly. If you left that money in the account for 24 months, be careful there, what would your principal be if you ended up with $8,000? So $8,000 is what we end up with. The principal is unknown. 1 plus, we had a 12% return divided by the number of times compounded, 4. Then the number of times compounded, 4 times time, but the time must be in years. We're given 24 months, ruh-roh. Divide that 24 by 12, sure enough, that's 2 years, okay? A little bit of quick simplification. That $8,000 equals P doesn't change, but 0.12 divided by 4, well, that's 0.03. So we add that together. This is 1.03 to the 8th power. We can divide both sides by 1.03 to the 8th power. And then when we do that, we get our principal because these will cancel. The question is, once again, how do we type that in? And I know it's slightly repetitive, but I also know it's a little tricky, at least in my humblest opinion. Start with your base, 1.03. That was to the power of 8. So once again, x to the y power. That tells me 1.03 is my base. 8 was my exponent. Boom. Okay, that's what we get when we raise that to the 8th power. Here's the new part. We need to take the reciprocal of that. So that's the 1 over x button. Notice the number should get smaller. We did the right thing there. Times the account balance, which our account balance was $8,000. Okay. That means, and once again, it's self-checking. If your number doesn't get smaller, you know you made a mistake. That means we started with $6,315.27. Hey, I hope that helps, guys and gals. Let me know in the comments or the messages if doing this stuff with the cell phone calculator is worthwhile, or if you feel like, broski, it's a waste of time. Just please let me know. That's all I'm looking for. All right. Have a great day. Peace.